Hi everyone, I'm going to show you how to do a chicken today. So my friend's boys wanted to learn how to draw a chicken. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a version in coloured pencils, I'm going to do a version in oil pastels, and I'm going to do a watercolour version. And the reason for that, I'm going to start off with pencils because everyone has got pencils at home at the moment. It's great for the kids because you've always got pencils. They get given so many free pencils as well, different party packs and stuff and restaurants. I'm going to have a go with oil pastels as well because you've all got crayons with the kids, and again they're always given out free at different restaurants and different things as well. And then I wanted to do a watercolour version because I know I've got a couple of learners that miss my watercolour chicken, or the rooster, and they wanted to have a go at that. So I'm going to do 3 different ones and then give a go all of them, or just choose your favourite, whatever medium you love working in, go for it. The pencils I've got, I have literally, if I turn them upside down, I've literally just chosen every single yellow, orange, brown colours that I could find that are close to a chicken. I'm going to start off drawing with my really light one to show you how I draw, and then I'm going to transfer to a really dark one so that you can see it, but always start off with your light ones and then get darker. So if I choose my lightest one, I'm going to go straight in for the chicken. So the chicken shape is basically it's all like triangles basically. So if I do the body, angles up slightly there, it's not dead straight, angles up to the right a little bit, and then it comes down, then it goes up. So there's my first triangle, and then the top triangle up here, we've got another triangle coming up here, and then his head is a triangle as well, and then up the top there is a triangle. Right, so and then we've got another triangle up here from its feathers. And then the great thing about this, I'll show you this later, I'm going to put some little squares down here for his legs. Put some legs. Right, so I know on the screen you won't be able to see that, so I'm going to go over it in really dark pencil now so you can see what I've done. But the idea is when you draw it in light, you don't need to rub out, because you're drawing over this and then you colour it in, and it all blends into the drawing. So if I take what was my dark one? If I take my dark, so I've got dark brown, I'm just going to draw over it so you can see that again. So I'm going to start with the body. So the body is a triangle coming up, so it's not dead straight, it angles up coming up to the right hand side. So I'm going left to right. So left is down, coming up right. I'm going to just, I've not given it a point, but I can do later if I give that a point. And then I'm going to come down there and down there. So I haven't gone dead to the centre. The centre is here. I haven't gone dead to the centre. I've just gone to the left of that. So if you want to, you can put a dot and then draw from that dot if you find that easier, rather than like I do, I just go for it and I don't really care how it turns out, I just enjoy it. But if you want to put dots where you think it should go, put those dots in first and then roughly draw some lines. So that's going to be the main body. Then we're going to do triangle for the head. So we come about a quarter of the way from the end, going to come a quarter of the way along and then come up. And likewise going to come to the end here and come up as well. So that's our other triangle. Going to come for the triangle at the top there, that's almost an equal triangle there. I did a little funny triangle on the top, but we can come back to that because that's almost like a funny rectangle there. And then at the end here we've got some feathers, so that's going to be another triangle. And then down here where his legs are, I'm just going to draw some little squares. So that's where his legs are coming out. He has these funny little puffy bits where his legs come out. You get the leg come down there and the leg coming across here. If you don't want to draw the legs in, you can just cover that with loads of grass or straw or hay. But if you do want to draw it, I'll show you that in a sec. Right, so we've got our basic triangle shape. This is where we're going to start to fill in the outline now. So if I I tend to start from the top, working down personally, and for some reason I'm liking the back. So I'm going to just come to the back of him. And again, I'm using my darkest pencil, my browns, but if you want to carry on using your light pencils, because if you go wrong, those light pencil marks won't show, and then you can go over it with your dark. So I've given him a little, tiny little hump here on the back here, and then coming down. And then I'm going to flick up, like that. So I've flicked up, so we're introducing all the curves now. And likewise, if I put a curve, you may be turning all these straight lines into gentle hills. So I'm doing a slight curve on the back of his head there, coming in, and then this is going to be the front of him. And they often stand quite proud with their chest hanging out. So I'm going to come round this corner bit where our triangles meet. I'm going to give him a nice fat proud chest, because the chickens are often puffing out that chest as they go clucking round. So from that top there, I'm coming curving it round, and you can see I don't do one really heavy line that goes down. I did quite a few until I'm happy. So I did one there and I thought, oh no, I'm going to make it a bit wider. So you can do as many as you like, because all of this, remember, is going to go into your shading, so don't worry. So I'm liking this. I'm going to start to come down. It's got a nice puffed out chest, and I'm going to come down. My proud chicken. Actually, I'm going to bring his leg down a bit. I'm going to put it there, I think. Which means that that other one is going to come there. So then, carrying round the chicken, if we come to this bit. So from that flick of these tail feathers there, I'm going to do another little curve. So I'm going to break this big bit of triangle. This bottom section is going to be slightly bigger than this top one. So we're going to have two curves. So one curve there, coming into the legs. So a bit of an S shape. Go, meow, come round. And then we have another curve on the top there. And so this is part of his wing here. So let's should we give him some definition? So this is all part of his head, and this is where I separate it now into the different feather groups, and he'll start to come alive. So this is all. And try not to do a solid line as you're going round. Try and do these broken lines, and can you see I'm drawing lines upwards to give the indication of these feathers and the ends of the feathers. So always try and avoid drawing that really solid straight line. And you want to draw these as well in the direction that they're going in. So this is curving up. So when I do them, I curve them up. And if you go back to the picture, I don't have a printer at my house, but if you've got a printer, you might want to print off the photo to look at it. I have it in front of me so I can see it, and I can see there's lots of lines, lots of these lovely lines working their way up. And look, he's starting to look fluffy and furry already. This was his chest. And again, I'm doing a similar thing, putting in some of these lines for his feathers there. So this is the front of him, and this is part of his bones, because this is his wing. So put that little bit in there, and some shading down there. So this is all going to be the shading. And as well, can you see my shading? I'm not going across, I'm shading in the direction that the feathers are going. So I'm doing these as they're coming up. always go in the direction of the object. And where these are getting lost a little bit, did you see that? I just went darker over them so you could see them a bit more. So that's to show you. So here, so this is his whole wing bit. So let's make this let's try and work this out. Right, so we've got that section, we've got another one coming in, and I like these, they're almost like leaf shapes, so it comes down, also like the patterns you get on nights, isn't it? And there's a few of them going round and coming up, give a little indication of them. Oh. You can hear my kids having fun in the background. Right, let's see, and then this. So again, this whole thing, can you see I'm doing these little broken lines, and this makes it appear really soft and feathery. I'm doing the brown, but grey, you can do greys, the yellows, the oranges. And that's where his leg's coming out from. I'm going to change where I originally put his leg. So I never worry about going wrong. And you can see where I change things. I just leave it in. If you don't like it, you can rub him out. That's why if you go nice and light to start with, it will rub out nice and easily. But if you go too hard too soon, you won't be able to rub them out. And if you can't rub them out, that's where you can get creative with other colours like greens to do grass or straws to hide all that. Any bits. Right, let's do some lovely tail feathers. I love the tail feathers. So generally you'll get the centre bone of the feather, and then it just feathers out. And again, I'm using those same really long strokes to give the impression of those feathers. If I'm going too fast, which I could be, I get a bit carried away and just start drawing and colouring and shading. Just pause me or rewind me and try as best you can to follow along. Right, so I'm liking the shape of that. If I come back to this bit now, so where I can, I brought the front of him up in there. I'm going to bring his head along here and then to his beak. So I've got a nice fat round bit coming round, coming up to his beak. And that's the bottom of his beak, and then the top of their beaks point down towards the ground. They're quite short, fat beaks used for pecking and to break up the seeds. So you make sure that your beak points down towards the ground. So that top bit points down, and you can make it quite fat. Try not to make it too skinny or too big, really. And then the eye is coming roughly just above halfway in this section. So I'm just going to pop the eye in there for the time being, with a little bit round the edge. He looks quite menacing, this one. Maybe I'll try and make him a bit happier in a minute. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab my red pencil. Where can I see my red? My red pencil to do this lovely bit round here. So where that joins in, I'm just going to do a little fat area. It's almost, what shape should we call that? Again, it's a bit like a petal or a tongue sticking out. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this nice, again, it's like a petal shape. So it's a curve and a curve with a soft point. and that goes up to the beak there. And we're going to colour that in. I'm doing it really light in places because where the light hits it, you want that bit to be lighter. So if I do it really light all over, and then once I've got it light all over, I can then start to put some shadow in. So I'm going to go a little bit heavier there and a little bit heavier over here. And a great colour to put over this red is purple or blue. So pick up your navy, your purple or your dark blue and put that in the shade. You can use black, but sometimes it's a bit more fun to use the colours. Makes it a little bit more interesting, I think. So put a little bit of that. And then it starts to take a bit of a 3D shape. So I'm going to put a little bit there. So hopefully it looks like it's wrapping round. And the other thing is, I love about pencils. I'm going to pick up my orange and blend that in. And lastly, I'm going to pick up my yellow to blend that in for the lighter areas. There we go. Funny bit stick wrapping around there. Right, the other thing, I'm going to come back to my red and do the funny bit on his little hat on top. I'm terrible, I never know the technical terms of things, but his funny little hat on top. So from the top of his head, that flat bit of triangle that we did, I'm just sticking it out. He's got a gap there, so his hat doesn't quite fit in properly. So I'm going to stick it out here, come up, and give him these lovely like dinosaur teeth. Again, these more triangle shapes. Try not to do them perfect dead straight triangles. They are more like teeth because they curve, and they generally curve backwards, almost like he's going so fast. They're going behind him. There we go. And again, colour that in really lightly, all in one direction. And then from there we can start to add a little bit of shadow. And a little bit of definition to give the impression that we've got some lighter bits, some darker bits. So it's not a flat. If you coloured it all exactly the same, it would just look like a flat object. But if you do different shades, so I'm doing it darker, generally darker down the bottom here. And can you see, I'm not going up and down, I'm doing these single strokes just to give a bit of texture in there. And then again, with these colours, I'm going to introduce these colours. So I'm going to take my yellow and put my yellow in. So I go in the same direction. You can do a bit of cross hatching. I'll show you what I mean. I'll do some cross hatching here. So you can take it in one direction, first of all, and then in another direction, building up the colours. So you can shade like that if you find that easier, all over. I tend to like, I like just personally, it's what I like to do. So you do whatever you like to do. I like to go in the same direction. But when it's your picture, you can do whatever you like. Here it goes, it's starting to take a bit of shape. I'm going to put a little bit of shading over his head, and I'm going to put some yellow on his beak. The reason I'm going to start with the yellow, because that's going to be my lightest bit, and I'm going to pick up my brown. got some attitude, this chicken. And then add a bit on top. Here we go. Start to bring some of that shade in. Maybe I can give him a happy eye. Right, so I'm going to show you a bit of shading on here now. So if I pick up all of my beiges and browns, so I'm going to pick up, I think this is my yellow ochre, but any kind of beigey browny colour. And it's almost like a stripy effect, this bit. So lots of long lines. It's going to work really well. And again, I'm coming round his neck and down, and then always follow the line of him. So here it comes round, so I'm going to do that nice curve coming round. Working in these lines, and the idea to work in those lines is that you can pick up another colour. If I pick up slightly orangier colour, I'm working in these lines. Here we go. Now, flip colours. You can do as many colours or as little colours as you want on this. I'm going to do a few little lines there to indicate some of the feathers. Always think about that soft feathery edge. Right, there's a little bit, so where I've drawn heavy, you could see my line, but if I'd drawn that in the yellow pencil, you wouldn't have seen that. But because it's there, so if you've got any lines, I'll show you how to disguise it. So I've got a line coming up like here, but what you can do is just do some darker bits around it. And that hides it instantly. So I'm just going to put some dark shades around here. This is where you can, if you want to, you can get fun with your colours. So any shadows, you can use purples and dark blues. So I've got my dark blue in my hand, and I'm just going to and again, I'm just doing those little lines to make it look really feathery and soft. And the blue is mixing with my brown to give me a really nice dark colour. You don't have to use blue, you can use black if you want to, darker browns, use purples, you can use whatever you want. So this is where the light's hitting it, the sun shines on top, and underneath the front bit here there's lots of shade. So I've put some shade into these feathers. Just gonna lightly put shade on, and when you're shading you want to do it in weird little pockets, so you can do it in a line coming, you can do like some V shapes, upside down V shapes, a little pocket, and you're giving the impression that there's little clumps of feathers. So that's a general shade around there, and then within there we'll do a little kind of a N shape. Do that upside down V shape. There we go. Right, so done that bit, I'll just finish off some of that bit. I'm going to leave some of these white to give us some light. So whenever you're colouring in, you want to do it, so again, you don't want it completely flat, you want some different shaded areas. So where I've got these dark bits, going to put some other colours around that, blend that in. And likewise. So the more colours you put into it, I think makes it look even better. Right, I'm going to start to do some around here. So again, there's some long bits around here, but again, you're getting those like V shapes, W shapes coming through. So if I just draw a couple of them, and then I'm going to use them to colour in. So it's almost like a zigzag. And then again, if I get my dark colour back, do some lines running along that V. And then this little bit here, some of the feathers are blowing up in the wind, so I'm just doing really little short lines to give that impression of the feathers blowing up. And I'm going to do the same around here, just these little lines. So almost this whole thing, just think of those like U shapes, W shapes, and you don't have to draw it in completely, even around here. Just going to do some pretend ones where I've got some lines. I'm going to just do a bit more shading over that to blend it in. So that's in light, and then this is all in shadow, this back bit here. There we go. So the picture that I was working from, there's lots of white feathers, and if you're finding that really boring, then all of those colours that you've used up here, you can use them wherever you like. And as long as round the outside, as long as you make those bits the darkest colours, it doesn't matter what colours you use. So I've kept them blue, so I'm going to put in some of these pages. Try and whiten them up a little bit. Chickens have all different colours and patterns, so you can use whatever you like on your one. You can even make them pink and purple if you want. Whenever you're doing it, so these are coming up and then they flick up at the back and they flick up towards this tail feather. So again, I'm just doing these short, sharp lines in that direction. And I'm putting a little bit more colour on my ones compared to what's in the image. If you want to keep it white, keep it white. There we go, he's coming along. I think he needs some more colours. A little bit more crayon. If you don't want to do as much as this, you don't have to. Once I get started, sometimes I can't stop. I can sit and colour this all day long. So what I'm going to do, we'll come back to the eye. So I'm going to draw a circle. I've got a nice circle there. The top of the circle, just above the circle, I'm doing a line that comes across. So that's almost a bit like his eyelid area. Looks like he's frowning. And then around that circle, I'm going to draw another line, but just on that bottom bit. Let's put some shading in down the bottom there. Let's put some yellow on his head. These are really short feathers up here, so you want these all really short lines. Let's get the orange. There's a lot of funny wrinkly bits, but all of this shading is coming towards the beak. Colour that in. And then this is where I'm going to get my black pencil. If I've got a black. This I have. I'm going to do the pupil. What I've done a circle, and I've left a little, I don't know if you can see that, I've left a little circle out of it to make it look like there's a reflection in the eye. And then I'll just go around the eye as well, putting some shadow around the top and a little bit down the bottom there. Make it look a little bit more 3D. So just go around the edge of that really softly on that eye, making it look 3D. And then if I enhance that shadow there. Again, put in some little lines. Okay, bring that one up. So when you're doing things, don't do a complete solid line, do a broken line. So here, I'm just doing a little bit of a broken line. Under here, a little bit of a broken line. A little bit broken there. Oh, I've forgotten to colour this bit in. Any bits when you're working around that you've forgotten to colour in, just pop them in. There we go. And that's practically finished. If you wanted to do, I'll just do the feet quickly. If you want to do a foot, I'll show you. So this one, you can see the foot comes out horizontally. And then we've got, it's almost, it's like 3 fingers and a back toe basically. But all you can see in the picture is this bit that comes forward. And then they come these long toes. So if you love dinosaurs, they're a bit like the dinosaurs' feet, scaly feet. So I've done a toe at the top. And then on the end, you want to make the bit on the end fat, round it off because that's where the claws come out. So give them some nice sharp claws coming down. They're webbed, so make sure you do a little webbing in between those toes. Give it a little bit of shading. You can do some lines as well to make it look extra scaly. I'm going to put some shade on this one and some lines. And then if you don't want to do the feet at all, if I grab some green pencils, if you want to, so here I'm going to pretend I can't see any of that. So I'm just going to put some grasses. And what I've done, and some weeds. So what you're doing, what I love doing with pencils is almost scribbling. So you can almost scribble, do some more grasses. The idea that you're doing them in all different directions. So I've got one coming across, one coming that way, one up. You don't want them all the same, they all want to be different. And also, this is looking a bit samey because it's done in one pencil. So you grab as many different greens, yellows as you can find, do some scribbling, colouring in. And the other thing that looks really good on greens is again your blues and your purples. So I'll show you in the shadows. If I grab blue, just shade a little bit down here. There's my blue, and another great colour is purple. Purple is great over greens. It starts looking a little bit more realistic, and you can go crazy with that as well. If you just want to keep it simple, you can just do a light shadow, or you can keep it really abstract and do nothing at all. Lots of artists don't have backgrounds, they'll just have the subject matter. Just do a light shading. And then around that, just give an indication that something's there. And perspective as well, so these will be really long, and these ones in the background will be a lot shorter and smaller to make those scribbles and lines smaller. I'm going to do it like a photo and pretend that my camera is focusing on here so that you can see lots of things clearly, and then I'm going to do it softer at the side as if it's going out of focus on your camera. Grab some blue. So you can see, I could just sit and colour this all day long. So give it a go and see how you get on. And I'll do, this is in pencil, and then I'll do another one for those of you that love crayons or oil pastels. I'll show you how to do it in that as well.